Hello everyone, and this is a session that was presented at NCBOLD, NCEES Admin Start of the Year Resources and What's New. My name is Donna Currie, and you can access this presentation, let me shrink my picture just a little bit, by going to, actually I'm going to close it, just so you can see everything, to bit.ly/NCBOLD, in all caps, the number 2, Currie 2023. So if you would like to have access to this, you may do that, but this is what was shared when we traveled with NCBOLD, just in case you missed it. So my name is Donna Currie, and I'm the Digital Subscription and Technology Analyst at DPI. I'm currently the Product Manager for EBSCO in Britannica, and my contact information is donna.currie@dpi.nc.gov. The reason I presented this at NCTIES was because Cammie Nairn had to be pulled away. She went to a different training last week or the week before last, so I was able to fill in with her and help her with this. So all of these resources are Cammie approved. She is the best. I'm thankful for her sharing all of this information. So what this video is going to be about is you're going to learn how to find and access and use NCEES resources. You're going to learn how to manage staff rosters, set plan types, set plan access rights, and verify staff have started their plans. And we're also going to look at those new updates that have been provided in NCEES this coming up school year. The agenda is we're going to recap how we ended the year in 22-23. We're going to look at what's new in NCEES. We're going to look at who's in NCEES and how they get there. We're going to look at NCEES resources, and the 3 in specific, the resources that are actually found in NCEES, the NCEES Admin Resource Hub, and the NCEES Information and Resources Hub. This top one, the Resource in NCEES and the Information Resource Hub, that is available to anyone. The Admin Resource Hub is just for administration. We're going to look at teacher plan types and how to assign those plan access rights, and then and then we're going to wrap it up. So let's recap last year. So how did last year end? Well, at the end of the 22-23 school year, you can see about how many plans were archived in each of the comprehensive standard, abbreviated late hire, PDP, and principal plans, and you can compare that to the previous years before. Some of those incompletes are due to teachers leaving the school district, someone leaving before they complete their summary or something of that nature, but that is the numbers from last year. You're free to look at those at any time if you would like to. Last year, I was able to become a part of this Google group, and this is a great resource of NCEES administrators helping each other. If you are not a part of this group, I highly recommend joining. Brian Probst and Patricia Coldren, they are the group managers for this, and I think last time I looked, there were about 255 members in the group, so it has increased. But this is a great resource for you. So if you're not a part of this group, I just wanted to shout them out because how they help each other is just amazing. So I would highly recommend signing up to become a part of this group if you are a NCEES administrator. So let's look at what's new in NCEES for the 23-24 school year. Well, we had noticed that principal plans are automatically populated by the system. However, sometimes there are plans that are school district that still have a principal active when they come in, and their district may be wrong. So now NCEES has added, or Power Schools with NCEES has added this district school icon, and then you have to confirm that this is your current location. If for some reason this is not your current location, then you would not need to talk to your NCEES district administrator to deactivate that plan. Do not start a plan that is wrong. So don't check yes if it is wrong. We want to get that corrected before you ever get started. Also, what's new is the document override that was in different parts of the evaluations, but it was not in the summary evaluation. So this has now been added. For some reason, a teacher leaves the school year early, refuses to sign off on that summary evaluation, your district administrator can do that. Remember that that still does need to process overnight. It's not immediate, and it will have the name listed as the person who did the override. So it won't look like the teacher did it. It will look like it will give it will say who actually did that override. But that is new this year, to be able to do the summary evaluation override. Also, there were 3 documents that were connected on the back end, and that was a document override data from the pre-observation conference evaluator form, the post-observation conference evaluator form. So when you had clicked delete on that, it would delete in all 3 places. So we work with PowerSchool, so PowerSchool has removed that delete button from all 3 of those forms, so there's not an accident of deleting previous data. If for some reason you do need to delete one of those fields, the person who is designated to open ServiceNow tickets in your district may do that, and they can click here. They would need to log in with their NCID, but the person who is designated to do that can do that, and we'll escalate that ticket to PowerSchool for them to remove anything that might need to be removed. Remember, some of those fields are not required, so it wouldn't matter if they're open and they don't need to be if it's not a required field. In addition, if you've been doing PD and NCEES, you'll notice that there's the light bulb moments where you can provide PD. So now at the bottom of all teacher plan types, comprehensive, standard, abbreviated, late hire, at the very bottom you'll see the light bulb for recommended learning opportunities. You do have the option to click that and add an opportunity, and you can make that opportunity required or recommended, and then you can save it. So the next time someone logs into NCEES and they look at their PD, they will see that that has been assigned to them or recommended to them as well. We also had an issue with PDPs where at the beginning of the school year, if a person was on an individual PDP, and then maybe at mid-year and they needed a little bit more direction, they need to be changed to a monitor PDP. What happened is the PDP type at the beginning of the year would also change. So you could not see that historically at the beginning of the year that person was individual and now they're monitored. It would have changed. Now that whatever it is at the beginning of the year will persist. So therefore you could have a different PDP status for beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and you could see what it was at that point in time. So the historical data will now persist, and so therefore you might see someone starts on a monitored plan and then they move it to individual, so you can also see that as it changes. But now that field will persist, so it is accurate at that point in time. Historical data is now correct. 2 other small updates that have happened was asterisks in NCEES means that is required to complete the plan. There was not an asterisk at the summary evaluations log activities. That asterisk has been added. And then when you were in the abbreviated plan, the word evaluator and teacher were missing from this post-observation conference section, and that has now been added to clarify who needs to do each step in that process. So that's just some small updates that have been done just for your reference. So let's talk about who's in NCEES. So in order to get to NCEES, you would click on My Staff. After you click on My Staff, you can see everybody who is listed under your staff. But how do they get there? So in order to get into NCEES, there are import files that happen overnight to bring people in. So what comes in? Well, staff UID data is pulled at 4 o'clock, and staff UID data, that is data that's shared from payroll, and everyone has like a budget code, and that budget code determines if someone is in NCEES. Just because someone is in PowerSchool does not mean they are in NCEES. They're in NCEES if they're evaluated by the NCEES evaluation instrument, or there's a few group of people who have access to PD and NCEES, but they're not evaluated. And I'll share those in just a minute. But about 4 o'clock every day, data is pulled from that staff UID. Then between 9:45 and 11 o'clock, data is pulled from PS, HR data, from links, HRMS, non-HRMS licensure systems. So it pulls from all of these systems between 9:45 and 11. About 11 o'clock, the person import file is created. About midnight, that person import file is sent to the vendor, and then about 2 o'clock, that vendor sends that file to NCEES. Therefore, if you were to go in and manually change something that comes from staff UID, maybe you see somebody's name is spelled wrong in NCEES, and you go fix it in NCEES. The next night, all of this information is going to pull back in, and it's going to override any changes that are manually made in NCEES. So don't make any changes in NCEES. All of those changes need to be made through these however they come into the system source data. So make sure that those changes are not made directly in NCEES, or they'll revert back the very next day. When someone comes into NCEES, everyone comes in as a site user if they have access. That means they can see their information. Some people come in as a site administrator. If you are a principal with a 114 role, you are automatically assigned to see the rights of everyone who's in your building who is in NCEES, so that is automatically assigned to you. However, you can manually assign others in your school to be a site administrator as well. And then site administrators can set access rights. They can see my staff, but they can be added as well. District administrator, that is the person in your district who can reopen items in plans, and they are also the reporter. The first one is manually assigned by the NCEES product manager, and right now that is Cammie. And then the second one can be added by others in the district. The district administrator for your district can add others as needed. And think of these as the people who reopen those plan activities and do run those reports. There's also super users who are in NCEES, and they are at the state level. And so that is how people come into NCEES. One of the most commonly asked questions we have is, why isn't my staff member in NCEES? Every staff member does not come into NCEES. Only people who have a certain budget code are in NCEES. So I'm just going to show you those budget codes. I do have it linked here, so I'm just going to click on this data. So when you log, when HR or when whoever is doing your finance or budgeting for your department, everyone has an object code or a budget code. And this is what those codes start with. So you'll see like the superintendent has a 111. Teachers are 121. These people come into NCEES because they are evaluated with the NCEES instrument. We do have one classified code that comes into NCEES, and this is someone who has a budget code at the beginning of 153. This is an administrative specialist, and it's usually someone who works with HR in the HR department, and they do need to have access to these plans. So that is the only classified code that does come into NCEES. You can look here and see all of these codes that come into NCEES, and these people who are instructional or administrative, they are evaluated by the NCEES evaluation instrument. We do have some people who come in as support. By legislature, support does not mean media coordinators, instructional technology facilitators, counselors. They are legally called instructional, but these people are in NCEES as support. And these are not evaluated by the NCEES evaluation instrument, but these groups of people do have access to the PD part of NCEES. So if you have these people with these budget codes, that is why they would come into NCEES, even though they are not evaluated. And at this time, these are the only ones not evaluated in NCEES that do come in. So if you have someone who's not coming in, the first thing you might want to check is check with HR and see what budget code they have. And if they are not on this list, they are not going to appear in NCEES. So I just linked you at the bottom to that. So that would be probably your first troubleshooting step. So when people are pulled into NCEES, and some people are under the misconception that you can't pull someone into NCEES or staff UID until the first official day on payroll, and that's not true. If you have training that needs to take place prior to the school year starting, they can go ahead and be uploaded to staff UID and have access to those trainings prior to the first official date on payroll. So that can actually happen. Also, sometimes you have people who are contracted out, non-payroll staff members who work with the PSU, and they do need to have access to training, but they're not evaluated, and they can be added as well. So there's directions for how that would need to happen. So that is how people get into NCEES, and that is who gets into NCEES, and if they're not, that information is why. There's three main NCEES resources I do want to point out to you. This might be I'm not going to pause now, but you're welcome to pause the video if you'd like to look at this. If you were to go to NCEES itself, you'll notice that if you've never looked at the homepage or if you've never looked at the help guides, I would highly recommend checking those out because you might have overlooked those and not really paid attention to those before. So I am going to go click here and show you what you might find when you log into NCEES. Let me go to homepage. So once I'm on the homepage, you'll see that you have links to all the previous webinars. We're getting ready to add webinars for the upcoming school year. They'll be here soon. They're not here just yet. You'll see this is a video to assign plan types and a guide to get you started. So anything that might be relevant right now would be here. Also reminders about the principal plans that automatically come in once they're done, allowing plans to process overnight. But on this homepage, this is updated regularly to let you know what is relevant at that point in time. So if you've never read the homepage when you log in, I would definitely recommend doing that. If you are a district administrator in NCEES, you also have a DA dispatch area over here that provides more information as well. Also in NCEES are help guides. There are help guides for every plan. There is a help guide for the comprehensive plan, and there is the this is for the staff who's on the comprehensive plan and for their evaluator. And you'll see pictures and guides to go along with every step of the way. So I'm just going to click right here on standard. For this is for the person who's being evaluated. If you've not clicked on these before and you are new to evaluating, this will be very helpful. It's going to show you pictures on where to click, where to go, what words to click on. So in the standard evaluation plan, click start plan. But there are pictures and images that tell you every step of the way. There's one of these for the person who was being evaluated and the person who did the evaluating. So you'll see those help guides for every plan. So if you've not looked at those, I would highly recommend looking at those. In addition, there's some administrator help guides if you need some additional support as you are working through these processes. And then there's some professional development help as well that you might need to look at. So great place to use that resource to get information. The next thing and please feel free to pause the video and look at those if you would like to. The next site that I want to point out is the NCEES Resource Admin Hub, and this is for NCEES administrators. And to get there, you're going to click on the blue canvas. You'll click on Home-Based Resources and NCEES Administrators. So I'm going to show you that step. So from NCEED Cloud, I'm going to click on the blue canvas. Excuse me. Once I click on the blue canvas, you're going to go to the bottom left and you're going to click on Home-Based Resources, which is way down here. So I'm going to click on that. Then you're going to click on NCEES, and this is for NCEES administrators. Please remember that. So if you're not in the course yet, you'll see the words enroll in the course, and then after you click enroll in the course, you'll see go to the course. Once you get to the course, you will see that you have modules for all types of the year. So you'll notice this is beginning of the year, so I would focus in module 1, but there's a middle of the year, end of year, reporting help, professional development, a year overview, some troubleshooting tips, and there's nothing in courses yet, but that's coming soon. So also, you can look at who your DPI support are. This is going to tell you your product manager, Cammie. It's going to tell you Jennifer Bass's name, who's helped for policy questions. Dr. Tomberlin, who is the business owner. It'll also have the link here to fill out the ServiceNow ticket if you need to do that. Getting started, this is going to have resources that is going to help get you started as you are getting started. There's a NCEES welcome letter that was shared out with the NCEES bulletin. If you're not a part of that, you need to be added. Please let us know and we can add you to that. I'm going to click here a little bit, and this is our next resource. We'll look at the NCEES information and resources. It is linked here. That's the third resource that we'll look at. Just wanted to show you that it is linked here. And this is a great place to get you started. So if you've never paid attention to this, or you've not joined this yet, and you're an administrator who does evaluations in NCEES, this is a great place for you to start. I'm going to click Home, and I'm going to click on Module 1 just to show you that. Once you're in Module 1, you'll see that there's some beginning of the year resources. There's some general information just telling you like our school year goes from July 1st to June 30th. It's showing you the system import files, how that information gets into NCEES. So those things I talked about earlier. If you want to receive the NCEES bulletins, you can click here to get your name added to that. If you're not a part of that email group that I shared earlier, you can get here as well. And then it's going to be divided up to show you some tasks that you can do, some things to think about at each part in the school year. So in July and August, you want to make sure your staff is there. You're going to want to define your calendar years. Remember, within the first 10 days, what has to be done. And make out your plan. We don't make your plans out for you, but making your plan to know when your observations need to be due, so you have a clear goal and what needs to be done and when. Learning more about the plan types and assigning those plan types. And we're going to, like I said, look at those again. There's also some resources down here for administrators, and then there's some information you can share with your staff, like maybe you want to share with them how to start their plans, complete their self-assessment. So it's divided up to help, and you'll see this BOY orientation. I'll point this out several times because this in several different places because this is very important at this time of the school year. So if you have not joined this group, I would recommend, or joining this resource, I would recommend joining this. I would recommend looking at the getting started and looking at Module 1. So if you want to pause the video and work on that, now would be a great time to do that. The next resource that I want to share with you is public facing, and anyone can have access to this, not just your administrators. And this is, oh, excuse me, went to the wrong one. So this is the NCEES information and resources. Once again, this is another resource. It's housed in Canvas. It's just to house the resources. And you'll see that this evaluation process can be shared with teachers, principals, support staff, central office. Anyone can have access to this. But if you have questions about policy, those would be asked to Jennifer Bassick, who needs to get what type of plan and things like that. You would ask those questions to Jennifer. And her contact information is on the screen. I have this link for you here. And also shown you that this was in the previous Canvas course that I was in. So just because you'll always have this if you click on the blue Canvas. So the second one that I listed will always be in blue Canvas if you log into, let me go back again. From this screen, if you click on the blue Canvas, once you are enrolled in the course, you will see that you have NCEES admins. And the resource that we are in now, will be found under the Getting Started, and it's up here in this right-hand corner. So just so you know, you can get here. This one you will not join, so this particular site that I'm in right now will not appear in your NCEES dashboard because you don't have to log in to access this one. So I've linked it in the presentation, and I've also shown you where it is linked in the other one for NCEES admins. So once we get into the site, just going to point out some things to you. You're welcome to look at the rest of this. There's a webinar series in here. This is going to show you the webinars from last year. We'll update this as we do webinars this year. So you can click on webinars. You can see the description of these webinars, and you'll see the presentation and the recording. The one I'm recording today will eventually be added to this site as well. So you have access to all of the previous year's recordings if you need those to help you. In addition to those webinars, you'll see that there is a beginning of the year orientation. Once again, we do put this in here several times just in case you need additional help for that. So you can look at that. But I do want to just point out when you click on an evaluation process. So if you are an evaluation process for a teacher, you click on teacher. All of those policies that teachers need to have shared with those, you can find these here. Sorry, shrink this a little bit so you can see this. You'll have links to all their policies down below. In addition to policies, you'll see that you have some procedures that will be helpful to follow. You're welcome to click on any of these, but I want to point out this NCEES questions. The second one, I'm under teacher, under policy, the second link. One thing that I hear as we were going out last week is making sure that your feedback that you provide to your teachers is relevant and finding trouble finding different things to say. Well, these would be really good follow-up conversations for your observations and even your summative evaluations. There's only so much you can see when you go into a teacher's room for that 45 minutes to an hour, but this will help you spark those conversations. So what are your teachers doing to meet each of these? You can see each standard and you can see each element, and then there's questions to go along with those just to help them answer those questions to show you what they're doing. You could actually share these questions with them ahead of time so they know what to answer. Sometimes teachers are doing these things and they don't know how to answer your questions or how to prove that they're doing standard number 3. And this is going to help you guide those questions as you do have those conferences. So just wanted to make sure I shared that with you. In addition, you have these resources here. So, there's some information for ELA, some math questions. You can check out these resources. And then there's this comparison chart. So I'm going to click on, once again, I'm still in teachers, but you'll see this comparison chart everywhere. And this is going to give you each standard listed. And then you can see what this standard would look like for different people. So these are all the different groups that are evaluated in NCEES. You have your teacher leadership, teacher leaders. You have your school media library coordinators, your ITFs, your psychologists, your social workers, your counselors. And what this standard looks like in a teacher's room is not what this is going to look like for a social worker, or it's not what it's going to look like in a media center. So just knowing what these standards look like as you visit different places might help for that comparison, because it does look different as you visit different people. So I wanted to make sure I showed that comparison chart to you. Okay, I'm going to close this. You can look, there's information here. If you have people who are observing principals, maybe central office staff, then that would help with that principal evaluation. But you can click on each of these, and that's going to show you those evaluation processes that might need to be helped. And so if you want to pause the video now, this will be a great time to look at this resource. So the three main resources that we have focused on today are the resources that are actually found within NCEES, so looking under Home and looking under Help Guides. The NCEES Admin Resource Hub, which is found under the blue canvas, under Home-Based Resources, and then after you join, this is what you will see on your dashboard when you log on to blue canvas again. And then the last one, which you do not have to join, this will not appear on your dashboard. You would just need to link it somewhere, or you can open it from the previous site. Excuse me. Pardon me. This is the last one, excuse me. And this one is the one that can be shared with anyone. So anyone who is evaluated with NCEES, you can share the site with them. So this is a public-facing resource that you can share with anyone. Sorry for clicking on the wrong one there just a second ago. Like I said, if you want to look at any of those, now would be a good time. You can pause the video, but I'm going to move on to the next section. So the next thing I want to talk about are teacher plan types and plan access rights. These are the directions that you would follow in order to set those plan types. Just remember that anyone who comes in with a budget code of a 114, a 116, a 117, they're going to come in with those principal plan or AP roles, and they're already going to have a plan assigned to them. And remember, they do not get a PDP. So we are going to go ahead and look. You'll have access to a guide to talk you through this. There's also a video, but I'm going to show you how to do this now, but you have access to these as well. So I'm going to go to NCEES. One second. And from NCEES, in order to do this, I am going to click on My Staff. You're going to make sure that you choose the correct school once you are in My Staff. I'm impersonating a training account, so you won't see any real people here, so I'm not giving up any personal identifiable information. But once you click here, you can make sure you choose the correct school if you have access to multiple schools. And then we're going to look at these people. So if this is number 49, Principal 1 is my lead principal of my school. They're going to come in with a teacher plan type already chosen, and they're going to come in with no PDP. If for some reason they did not come in this way, then you can click the drop down. You can choose what they need to be. Remember, principals and AP do not have a separate PDP. Theirs is built in with this plan. You can also look at the rest of these people who have come in. Most of these people came in with not selected as teacher plan type or PDP. Occasionally, you'll have someone who came in with a dash. So we did work with Power School to ask them to bring in not selected, but occasionally a dash did come in. So let's talk about these support people. These support people, remember on that list, these support people are not media coordinators. They're not ITFs. They're not people evaluated in NCEES. These are your people who are just have access to PD. So if you have a large school, you can add a filter. And I'm going to filter by position that contains, and I'm going to type in the word support just to help narrow down this list, because if you have hundreds of people, and I spelled that wrong, which is why nothing come up, update my table. So anybody who has a position of support will appear here. And these are these people that I showed you on the list right here. So these are the people who are going to come in this way. Once we are in here, we know that these people they have no evaluation, at least not in NCEES, and they have no PDP. So you would need to go ahead and mark no evaluation and no PDP. So you can go through and do all of your support people that way. So now I'm going to remove that filter. Now I'm going to come look at my instructional staff. And you can add a filter if you want to go through your instructional and your administrative staff. But when you are finished, no one should have a not selected and no one should have a dash. They should have some type of plan assigned to them, and then they should have a PDP. Now, it is important when you assign their plan, so I'm going to say maybe this person's an ITF, and you want to go ahead and set their plan now. The reason you do this at the same time is if you do not set this at the same time, then the rubric and the standards that are in the PDP will not match what they're evaluated on. So go ahead and set these up at the same time. If you can go through, set all of these up, and let me go to this one last person. Maybe this is, let's see, career development coordinator. Anyway, I just want to make sure that I set all of these up at the same time. So after you set these up, they need to process overnight. They are not going to appear on your staff evaluations until this is processed overnight. So allow this to process. Excuse me, they won't appear on your list as having plans until it processes. So let's allow this to process. So by the power of, I'm in a training account, let's say that now this has processed. So when I log in and I can see that now that these people have their plans, I have assigned everyone something. I haven't left anything blank. I haven't left anything with dashes. And if you know that when they have no evaluation, you've chosen that, so you can come in and check to see if anybody new has been added. So now what we need to do is we need to go in and assign rights and assign access rights. So when you're assigning access rights, these are some things that you need to think about. Or do you want them to be an evaluator? Do you want them to be an observer? Do you want them to be a peer observer? And a peer observer and an observer are not the same thing. Observers cannot sign off. So if you have one of the next most common questions that we have is at the end of the year, my peer observer can't sign off, and that's because they were set as an observer. You also have view-only rights, reopen admin for district administrators. You have a person who is a mentor, and mentors only see PDPs. But remember, those principals automatically are evaluators to everyone who is in their location. So principals don't have to be assigned anyone, but the district administrator will need to assign an evaluator to the principal. But just being aware of, now it's processed overnight, I have my people in, and now my people need to have someone to look at their plans. So these are directions that will show you how to set those access rights, but I'm going to do that with you now. But these are those directions on how to do that. So I'm going to go back to NCEES, and from NCEES, I am going to click on My Staff. Mine's in the drop down. Yours is I just zoomed in so you could see. And once I click on My Staff, you're going to click Administration Staff Management. And you're going to have a list of people who right now can be assigned as those rights. So if you see someone in this list, the check means they can manage rights. But I'm going to click on this first person. I'm going to click Admin Rights. And this box is going to appear, and I'm going to be honest with you, this box that appears is not user-friendly. It is not the easiest to see, but you can come in here and let's look at how this page is designed. The person who you are giving rights to is listed at the top. The person they already have rights to, they are shown in this top section. You can scroll up and down. Then there's 4 parts that you need to complete. You need to choose your site, choose a plan type, choose the members that these people can see, and what rights this person has to those plans. So once again, the person that I'm giving rights to is this principal number 49. They already have rights to these people. Oh, excuse me, click here. They already have rights to these people, but we're going to add to that. So you're going to choose the plan that you want them to see. So maybe I'm looking at my people who have comprehensive plans. Anyone who has a comprehensive plan will appear in this list because you're going to go, remember, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I need to decide what rights does this principal need to have. So are they an evaluator, an observer, peer observer? What are they going to be? I'm just going to choose evaluator right this second. And then you can choose box number 3 in 3 different ways. You can manually go and just pick and choose who you want them to have rights to in the list. You can check this box at the top, and that will highlight everyone who is currently in the list only. Or you can leave this blank, and this makes this a dynamic box. And anyone who comes in at any point in the year who has a comprehensive plan, this person will be their evaluator because that's the rights I chose. So you can leave it blank, and then it's dynamic, and it's updated all year long. You just have to decide, is that something you really want? Do you really want them to have access to these plans all year long? So once you're done, you click Add. Anybody whose name you added will appear in this list at the top. So that is how you would do that. So I'm just going to click Done. In addition to that, if someone is not in your list who needs to have rights, you can click Add Administrator, and your people and you can search, and this would be how you can add maybe those peer observers, or you can add those mentors that are not appearing. So you can click Add Administrator, and this will allow you won't have quite as much as I do to fill in there, but you can find those names of other people that are not in that list. If you do not see the Add Administrator button, your district administrator can add that to give you additional rights. But those Add Administrator, you'll see now these are just administrative, and then that will allow you to add peer observers. It'll allow you to have mentors and that type of thing. So you can add those here. And then, so once again, we're going to allow this to process overnight. So now this is processed overnight. I want to make sure that my people have their plans. Now they have, I've assigned someone to look at their plans, and now I need to make sure that they have seen those plans, or they have started those plans. Just a reminder, because this site is not user-friendly, I just want to remind you some things to look at when you're in the box. Make sure you're looking at who you're giving rights to, and then you're going to go, make sure you choose your site. Then remember, you're going to choose your plan, choose your people, choose your rights, and then click Add. Some people get confused and think they have to click Add after step number 2, but that is not correct. So you would need to add after you finish step number 4. So just making sure you do that. Okay. So now I want to make sure that my staff members have started their plans. There's a couple of different ways you can see this. So I'm going to see something different. When I see this, you're going to see that my people have more than one plan assigned. It's because I'm in a training account. You should only have one plan assigned and one PDP. When you click for my staff, the word start means the plan is not started. So if you were to go observe them, you can't start their plan because they didn't start it here. Edit means that they are working in their plan. So let's look at this. So I'm going to, once again, go back to NCEES. Once I am in NCEES, I am going to click on my staff. Yours is probably at the end. Like I said, I'm zoomed in. So I'm going to click on my staff, and then you're going to see your staff. Oh, excuse me. And then I'm going to click all staff. Excuse me. My staff, and then all staff. Each person is going to have a drop down beside their name. They should only have PDP listed here and their plan listed. Start means they have not started. Okay. If you see and like I said, mine's different because I'm in a test site. If you see edit and start, that means they've started their PDP, because the word edit means that they're editing. Start means they need to start. And you should only see one plan of each. If you see more than one plan, there's a problem, and your teachers or your staff might be in more than one school. So you should only see one PDP and one plan type. But you can look and see each of those. You can also see them under staff evaluations. They will only appear, your staff will only appear here if they have started their plan. You can see that teacher 49 has started. I know obviously now they wouldn't be late hire, but they've started a plan and they've started their PDP. They appear on this page. This teacher number 2 only has a PDP listed, which means they have not started their plan. So they're not going to appear here until they have actually started. And once they appear here, you can see you have the green checks, you have the locks. You can click on any of these and it'll take you directly into that plan. But if they're not appearing here, they did not start. So just be aware that everyone might not appear there if they have not started their plans. Okay, so that is a way you can verify that those plans have started with people who have rights to see those plans. So just a reminder, this is beginning of the year. This site is really good for helping you with that beginning of the year process. This is a site that's open to everyone. I'll link it here again. You can look at those webinars and you see that BOY orientation. Also, to help get you started, these are some great next steps. So this is a quick start guide. These are found on the NCEES home screen. There's start plan, self-assessment guides, training orientation, and locking guide activities. So there's information to help you get those green checks and help you lock those locks. If you will please check this NCEES leads list. If for some reason your contact information is wrong for either PowerSchool, SchoolNet, or NCEES, you can look. I've linked here so you can see all. This will take you directly to just LEAs. This will take you directly to charters. If this information is wrong, please email home_base@dpi.nc.gov. We do want to make sure that we give the right information to the right people as we email that out. So that was all I have for you today. So hopefully that'll help you get started. I hope all of you have a great year. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email me at donna.currie@dpi.nc.gov, or you can email Cami at cami.darren@dpi.nc.gov. And I hope you all have a great year. Thank you so much.